Greetings, you all. All right, here it is. I'm a little late getting in here to you. Today is the 29th, April 29th, 2022. Prosperity Stakes. Anyway, posterior anatomy stakes. Friday, open line Friday, and what we've done is we've deleted the Wednesday night show, and that was our Q&A, and it was kind of fading because I answer questions all the time, which I don't mind, it doesn't matter. But this whole thing started off as just a Wednesday night show where that's all that happened, and I think many people know that the reason why we did this was because my phone was ringing all the time, and I really like to answer questions, but I really couldn't do that. It was getting too bad, and people would call the farmhouse, and my kids would just give out my cell phone, and people would give my cell phone to other people, and before I knew it, it was ringing all the time, and it still does. And I have to say, well, you can tune into the show on Friday night and I can answer your question then, but I'm in the middle of something right now and I really can't help you. And so that's what I do a lot. Sometimes I don't exactly. I had somebody call me today and I got in a very interesting conversation with her. She was another veteran, and it was a very interesting conversation about things pertaining to farming and townships and things like that. Real interesting. I hope we get some questions about that tonight, because I don't want to monologue this thing. I want to make myself available to use all. We got people in here, but I'm not sure if our chat is working. We had a real problem with it last night. Never did actually work the way it's supposed to. I could not back up on it. So if something went past, there was nothing I could do. So could somebody say something? Okay. Yeah, Inga, you can call me. All right. Why don't you just ask me the question here? But if it's something that's sensitive, go ahead and call me. Go ahead. Not right now. I might as well just give out my cell phone online here, and we'll just have like a call-in show, and I could just put you on speakerphone. We could do that, but then my cell phone would be spread all over creation. It's bad enough as it is. I shouldn't complain, because this really is, hey Keith, this is the mission, and the mission is to bring people into a better understanding of small farms and homesteading, right? That's the mission. So it's not hard. So what do? I'm not such a important figure that I can't answer somebody's questions, I guess. But this is the place to do it. Friday night will be the place to do that. We'll leave it open for open line and questions. And that way, when people listen to the restream of this, stuff gets out there. So I'm on my own tonight. Jill got back from her conference yesterday about 7-ish, I guess, or no, about 7:50, and then I had to be on here at 8. So and she had driven, and by the time I got off, she was like, I need to go to bed. So and then today was our chicken processing day. So we didn't have many. I think I told you yesterday that a gal showed up that had 50, I guess, but they were really small, and it was her first time. And so I recommended that if you like chickens that are bigger, that you should take them home and feed them some more food. And I gave her a bag of biochar to see if that would help her along. And she actually signed into the tribe today, and she's a neighbor of ours. Her name is Christina from Kilkieska, All right, so welcome if you're on here tonight, Christina. We had a nice chat yesterday, I thought. Okay, so today is the day to ask your questions. And if you could put your questions in all caps, although the chat's working tonight, so I should be able to multitask. Sean Wise is here. Sean was being a wise guy on the tribe today. He said he got his piglets that are Mangalitsa piglets that are M-Bore certified. But he was more concerned with whether they were BGA verified or BGA approved. And I'd have to say, yeah, I approve them, Sean. So they'll be okay. They'll be okay. I don't know about that M-Bore thing. That seems a little weird, actually. Did you pay extra for them because they're M-Bore certified? And I don't even know, like, how do they verify any of this stuff? Okay, Angus says, long-lasting produce that can be stored through winter. You want to talk about that? All right, that's a good thing to talk about. I didn't really get a chance to listen to anything today. I should say nothing. I listened to a little bit of this guy called Nicholas Vinman that was recommended to me by Luann, and she had a big thumbs up near it, like I should listen to it. So I listened to it, and he had this lady on that was claimed to be in touch with the the spirit world, I guess. And I mean, and nowadays that doesn't sound so crazy, does it? It does it? And had a lot of interesting information out there. However, she did say a little bit about the thrashing around of the evil that's permeates our planet, and I think we all know that. And yeah, they want to do this food shortage thing. That's their thing. They want to do that. But you know what? I think we're going to come through this food shortage thing, and I think we're going to learn a lot through this, right? Like we learned a lot through Wu Flu, and we're learning a lot now through food shortage because it shakes people a little bit, and they say, "Yeah, I've been gonna plant a garden, but I guess this year I'm really gonna." So we'll address that, and I think it's a good okay, ways to filter water and how to set up pitcher pumps. Wow. Okay, there's some good things. Okay, long-lasting produce that can be stored through the winter. Well, some of the things that we store through the winter are, right off the top of my head, carrots. Right? Carrots are really easy to grow, and you can leave them in the ground until fall time. And then when it's absolutely, the end before the snow comes, we've actually lost carrots because we got heavy snow on them and then couldn't find them. I don't think we looked real hard, but and then we've lost them because if they're too close to the surface, the tops freeze and then they turn to mush, and it's not a good carrot. But if you really had to, you could get the tips and you could eat them even in the spring, because occasionally I was working in the garden today. I just couldn't help it. It was so nice out, right? And so I just thought, well, I'll just do a little of this. And so I was pulling up all the old plastic from last year, and then there was a bunch of dried stuff, dried stalks and bean pods and all this other stuff. So I put it in a windrow, and we had a little wind coming out of the east, so I touched it off, and it burned and left a lot of nice char out there for me. And but anyway, I was working out there, and yes, lo and behold, I dug up some carrots, and they were great. I ate a couple of them. They're really good. So carrots are great. And the way that you can store those if you don't have a root cellar. Now, even if you do have a root cellar, I think a better way to store them is you dig a trench about 16 inches, and you lay your carrots in there. Just lay them in there. Don't put any straw. That's a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. You just lay them in there, cover them up with dirt, just cover 16 inches of dirt back in. So you're digging a hole with a spade. Let's say you go down 16 inches, so you've got a nice pile of dirt on the side. Lay all these carrots in there, and you can put them probably 10 inches deep, and then just cover them with dirt, and then cover that whole thing with straw, right? And then mark it. Put a marker in there so you can find it, and then you can put a bunch of them in your root cellar, which is what we did. We put a bunch in the root cellar too. And when those ones were gone, then we had to go out to the garden, and I think it was after the first of the year, and dig those ones up. And those ones are nicely chilled. You can take out what you want, but you have to put dirt and straw back over them. The reason you don't put straw in the bottom of the hole, and I've seen people recommend to do that, is because somehow that's like a calling card to mice. And once they can get down in there and they can navigate in that straw, they'll just have a mouse field day in your carrots. So that's why we don't put any straw in there. All right. Another thing that's really good is a lot of your hard squashes, or they call them winter squashes a lot of time. I am a big fan of blue Hubbard squashes. You just can't let them get too big, right? Can't let them get too big. You want them just about, that you can pick up with one hand probably, but you don't want them to be like 3 feet long, because then they have a super open gap in the inside, and it gets pithy if you do that. Butternut, so it looks like an acorn, and then acorn squash are really good. Of the squash family, that's what we do. That's what I know about really well. Pumpkins, you're going to want to eat pumpkins sooner than your hard squashes. So when you're storing stuff through the winter, it's not like if you have a root cellar, everything you put in there just keeps. It doesn't. It slows down the process, and occasionally we'll have something in the root cellar that, hey, it didn't make it. So it comes right out of the root cellar and gets thrown right in with the pigs. And not a problem at all. But what you do is you figure out what's going to keep the longest and eat that last, even if it's your favorite. And you're watching stuff, and if something starts to go, oh, we got to eat this. We got to eat this now. Everything else is fine. Okay, we're eating this. So that's how you do that. And having a root cellar is a learning experience, because I've had, this is my second one. My first one was better than this one. This one didn't do so well this year. It didn't do so well, and it was totally my fault. Totally my fault. What I needed to do is I needed to get another door in, and I just never got around to it. So it was completely my fault. Let's see what else that keeps stored through the winter. If you have a greenhouse, okay, we have stuff out in the greenhouse that made it all winter, and we do not heat it. So any of the dark leafy stuff, they might go dormant, but they'll just sit there, and then as soon as it gets warm again, poop, out they come. So there's kale in there. There's parsley in there. A lot of parsley. Wow, it seems like it propagated during the winter. And some other things that I'm not sure what they are, but Jill does feed them to us. Okay, good ways to filter water. I would say the best thing you can do is get one of those Berkey water filters. I'm seeing my people out. I just noticed that there was a steer out right before I went on, And I was like, hey, I gotta go on, so you guys are gonna have to handle it. And I just seen everybody going that way, so that's a bad sign. But you got to be careful with water, right? There's a lot of things that can be in water that can cause you long-term health issues, and especially here in the United States, where we're drinking clean water all the time. Like if you live in town, you're on city water, you're getting water that is completely dead because they're putting chlorine in it and other things too that you probably don't need. But the chlorine just kills everything, and that's how that's their fail safe. You know, they filter the water, and make no mistake, if you live in the city, the water that you're drinking that's tap water could have been somebody's urine about 10 days prior. You know, it all goes through the water treatment plant and then goes back to you. Yeah, so I'm a lot better out in the country than so I wouldn't fool around with that. I'd actually bite the bullet and get a good water filtration system that has been tested by the scientific community, you know, of course. But, you know, I think that some of those things are actually pretty good that the private market puts out, and then they actually they make claims of what it will filter out. And I'm sure there has to be some level of accuracy there, you know, something. But Berkey is a good one. It's supposed to be a good one. Again, supposedly you can pour water down through biochar and it will filter it out. I don't know. I am probably not like you guys. I drink water that probably people shouldn't be drinking, but I've just been doing it for a long time. And I started a long time ago. I did get dysentery one time though. I did when I was in Thailand, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty. And I took nothing for it because I had heard that you have to be very careful as an American with the what they give you to fix it. They give you a shot, and I did not want that shot. So I just toughed it out, and I was told that it would come back. It never came back. So maybe my body built some sort of immunity to it or something, but that was a bad deal. How to set up a pitcher pump. Okay, a pitcher pump is a pump that you operate by hand, and there are two kinds that I know of. There is a shallow well pitcher pump, and then there's a deep well pitcher pump. And then there's other pumps that operate in a similar manner to a pitcher pump, but they don't really work that way. Shallow well pitcher pump has a cup in there, and it is a cup that when you push it down, air goes past it, and then when you pull it up, you're pulling up some air, and when you pull up air, it pulls up liquid, and then you do it again, and it pulls up a column of water a little higher, and then a little higher, and then a little higher until it gets to the top, and then you go, and they work pretty good to about 25 feet. If you get it anywhere past that, you can put a check valve in. It's called a foot valve. You put it on the bottom. Typically, a pitcher pump is used with 1.25 inch pipe. And typically it's used in conjunction with a sand point. And I may have to take to the whiteboard for this to explain this. But a sand point is a cylinder about 4 feet long, and it's got a really hard point on one end, and then it's got threads on the other end, and then in the middle it's got like a skeleton structure and a screen inside of that skeleton structure. So if you're familiar with the barrel shroud on a 50 caliber machine gun, it sort of looks like that. Anybody who's familiar with that barrel shroud? Andy wouldn't. They were around. They were gone by the time he came in the Air Force. And it goes on the end of a pipe, and then you drive it into the ground. And you usually drive it with 6-foot sections of pipe. You put a coupling, you drive that down, then you take a string with something tied on the bottom of it, like a nut, usually just a nut. And then you drop it down in there, and then you listen. And if you can hear it go bloop, 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 you're in water. And if you're in water, you pump some of it up, and you pump it until it gets clear, and you decide whether you're going to drink it or not. And there's really only one way to do it, and that's to just drink it and see how it feels, see how it tastes. If it doesn't taste good, well, that's a pretty good indication that you probably shouldn't drink it. And if you're drinking it water from like 10 feet, I don't know. I'd be kind of weary of that, because usually that smells and tastes a little sulfury. I don't know as I would want that. You want to be down about 25 feet. That is a pretty standard aquifer depth, 20 to 30 feet when you're in certain areas. Certain areas, no, but places where people do put down sand points, you're going to find it 20 to 30 feet. I got it out here at 23 feet. 23 feet. And then when you do get water, you put some Teflon tape on the top of the threads, and then you screw your pitcher pump on there. Your pitcher pump has seals inside of it that are actually made out of leather. They call them pump leathers. So pitcher pump, a shallow well pitcher pump, they're not real good outside. Usually they would have them sitting on the side of a sink in a house. So let's say way back in the day, like in this house here, this house was built in 1905 or somewhere around there. What they did is they found water first. They drove the well. They got water. They got water coming up. And then they're like, well, this is where the kitchen sink's going to be. And they build the house around that. So in my house, the well that was here when we got here was directly below. It had been cut off and threaded in the basement. But if we put another section of pipe on there, it would have come right up through the floor, right up to the side of the sink. And I remember at the time thinking, this would be cool. But we were using it, and it had an electric pump on it at the time. And I remember saying that, my wife's grandmother was still alive, and I was saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a pitcher pump sitting on the side of the sink? And she did not believe that we were living this way because we wanted to live this way. She kind of, in her day, she was born before 1900. Well, maybe not. No, maybe she was 19. She was 100 something when she died. So anyway, but she could not dig the whole idea of living close to the earth. So she thought it was abusive of me to want a pitcher pump instead of an electric pump. Like I'd be abusing Jill. She'd have to wash dishes with cold water, and she used to pump it up and everything. No, that wasn't the idea. And I still may do that. I think that would be really neat. And it would be there, and let's say that you had a power outage. Well, you can fill the coffee pot, and you don't have to get too freaked out too quick about that. So that would be a good thing to learn how to do. And I tell you, I was at Ace Hardware in Cadillac, and sure enough, on a bottom shelf, kind of in back, they had sand points. And I had not seen those in quite some time. So when you want to put a sand point down, if it depends who you talk to. If you talk to me, I'd say just put it down, just do it. But if you talk to somebody from the county, from the courthouse, they would say, oh no, you got to get a permit to do that. So you have to pay somebody from such and such department to come out and tell you if that's a good place to put a well. That's how up their butts their heads are, right? You know, you go out there and you witch to find where water is, and some guy that works for the county is going to come out and say, well, you can't put it there. Well, that's where the water is. Yeah, but you can't put it there because you know, it's too close to your septic system, you know, or too close to something, whatever. So if you're going to do it, you just do it. And when you would have to get a permit is if you're going to use a well driller. But putting down a sand point, you won't get a well driller to even put down a sand point. They're always going to do a 4-inch with a casing, and they get a permit, and then somebody comes out and checks their work, because when they're putting down these 4-inch casings, they want to make sure that they're sealing from one aquifer to the next, so they don't have aquifers transferring water. Anyway, it's a long story. Okay, but that's it in a nutshell. I am going to be doing one of those over at my son's place. They're off the grid, or that was the plan. That was the plan. But then just before we left there the other day, he says, "Oh, you want to see this bunker we found?" And we go over, and it was just off the road, not too far, maybe 30 yards, and looked down in there, and it was a well pit. And it was a very nicely built well pit, old, but very nicely built. And there was a well, there was a pipe casing right there, and it was a 2.5-inch casing. And there was, you know, it had an elbow on it, and it had a fitting on it where you would put a slip joint from a jet pump on there. And there was electricity there, but there is no electricity to this property. So evidently at one time there was, but at this time there is not, and they don't want it. So if they did have an electric jet pump, a jet pump is just a shallow well pump that sits on the top. If they did, they would run a generator to pump up all the water they wanted. But I'm not sure what move they're going to make, if they want to opt for the hand pump or what. So we'll see. All right, let's see. How soon can I move rabbits from 6 to 8 weeks? 6 to 8 weeks. And Debbie Van Fossen's with us, right on. And so is Nancy Dort. Yes, please give us the thumbs up. DeClerc, right on. Okay, potatoes, onions, and garlic. Yeah, I don't know how I missed those. Potatoes are, I was just testing you to see if you would chime in. You know, of course I knew that. Potatoes are really easy keepers. And the way you keep them, there's a bunch of ways, but in your garden, you can actually do the same thing. Make a trench, put them in there, cover them up, and take some of them, put them in your basement or your root cellar. And you want to keep them out of the light so they don't grow. And in your basement, I've seen people actually have boxes in their basement, like 6-inch frames, and they'll put potatoes on the base, cover it with dirt, then put potatoes on that, put another frame over it, cover that with dirt, and so on and so on. And just they'll have a stack of potatoes with dirt. And I've seen people do that. It seems pretty effective. Onions you hang up. I've seen where people braid them and make just this cascade of onions, and then those are just hung in the root cellar. They're pretty easy keepers too. Garlic, same thing. We keep garlic in here. When we harvest it, leave it in cloves, put it in a bag, and then it just kind of goes back here. hanging on a nail right there. There's some there right now, and then it gets used for cooking, and whatever's left gets planted in the spring. Cabbage, yeah, cabbage for sure. You can keep cabbage for quite a while in the root cellar. But at some point, you know, you can't keep it forever, right? All right, the ice house. At 4 weeks, you can start weaning, but not full stop. Where are my glasses? But not full stop. From research, do it over a few days for the mama's milk. Okay. I would tell you that the way it's done around here is they're always in there longer than they should be. And mom usually kicks them off. But some people will take them off because they're breeding them back so quickly that they don't want mom to kindle while she's still nursing. So I think that's the consideration right there. Ice house. My New Zealand rabbit has bunnies 9 days old, so I changed the nest and kept the fur and put new straw. Their eyes are almost open. I posted a video of them. Oh, did ya? I didn't see that. Did you post that on the tribe? I didn't see it. Coastal's with us. Okay, yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I'll be looking for it then. Luann's with us. Hey, Luann, I did listen to that Nicholas Vinman thing. That was pretty encouraging. And that same woman was on with Janine, and she seems legit. I don't know. Does any of us really know? I don't know. My gut tells me that I think they're more legitimate than a lot of the other ones. All right. So who's got anything? Who's got some questions or some topics you want to talk about? I did have a conversation with a friend today about the answer to a lot of what is been going on, you know, how well, the conversation started off about the bird flu, and this guy's like, "Hey, what do you think of that?" Called me up, you know, and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I said, "I think it's the same as feral swine. It has all the same hallmarks as feral swine. They are putting it out in the media, and it's being put out by authors who tell you about an incident that happened in some obscure place in the state of Michigan. You don't have a story that is authored by some PhD from the university and his name is signed to it. You don't have that. You don't have them putting out what they call a white paper on it. It's just, it's kind of the way it's put out. It would never hold up in court. It's sort of like it's hearsay, actually, is what they put out. And they're trying to get enough people talking about it and fretting about it to a certain level of people that are fretting about it. And then the post office will say, well, we don't think we're going to ship chicks anymore in the mail because too many people are upset. As if people being upset is the measure of whether there really is bird flu. Or, you know, it's like somebody said on here last night, well, they killed 2 million birds. Does that mean that they must have been sick? Or do the yahoos from the Department of Ag just say, yep, we better kill them? You know, it kind of justifies their position. You know, when there's death involved, well, you know, we had to kill them because they all had it. What'd you do with the carcasses? I burned them all. I'm surprised you didn't throw them in the ocean, you know, I mean, because we didn't want to upset all the other birds, right? You know how that goes. Now, if there really was and they had rock solid proof, you would see it. But the way they're presenting it, it's suspect. It's just suspect. And I'll say it again, if you believe these guys after all the stuff that they've done, I think shame on you for believing them. I just don't think it's a good idea. Anyway, as we talked about this, you know, he was like, well, what do you think the answer to this is? They seem to be working the same playbook over and over and over. And I said, I think the answer here is to just work hard at becoming sufficient, self-sufficient, so you don't wind up like the American Indians did. You know, they learned to depend on the people who would eventually put them on reservations. And I'm not taking anybody's side here, but I lived out west, and I've been on a couple of reservations. I actually was on a reservation in Canada too, and it was horrible. And I don't think anybody did it to them, but I think it was a combination of sort of training them to depend on their captors, and then they're just led around. Whereas if they had stayed self-sufficient, maybe it wouldn't have been quite the same way. It didn't have to go that same way. So we know that Agenda 21 seeks to put all of us in like concentrated areas, so that we can just walk to work. We don't have to burn any fuel, and you know, we can just stay warm by sleeping 2 feet away from our neighbor and all that stuff. We can share food. We can share a bathroom. I mean, you don't need a bathroom in every house. It's like you could just have one community toilet that everybody could poop in. That's what they want. That's what they want. They think that we're living a little too high on the hog, and they want to put us in austerity and then move us all into the cities where we can get free Wi-Fi. You know, that's really what it seems. That's what their agenda is. And you know, we would be led there if we had no food. And here we are at a place where they're saying there's not going to be any food. Oh, so you don't have answers why there's no food, and you don't have answers how to provide food. But I'm sure that at some point you'll say, yeah, but if you guys want to eat, come on over here. You know, I'm sure that's coming. I'm not saying I'm sure it's coming. I'm saying potentially that could come. And I don't want to be in the position where somebody can hold that over my head. It's sort of like the Walmart greeter guy says, you can't come in unless you do this. And you can't come in unless you do this. I don't want to be in a position where some schmuck like that can keep me from eating because I won't do what that schmuck says I have to do, right? And I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. So they get you in that mindset, like, oh, this is crap. I don't want to do this. But that guy's just doing his job. What if they're irrelevant? What if they're irrelevant? What if they're hurting for business so bad that they tell their hard place, we're not doing this. We got a business to run here, you know. But their hard place was the government that said, hey, we'll shut down your competition. We'll shut down the mom and pops, but you got to make sure these people walk in a straight line, 6 feet apart, wearing a face diaper, and when the medication comes out, they're going to have to show their PayPus, please, their health certificates, right? So that was the deal that was cut, apparently, looking back on it now. So a lot of the mom and pops are back out. Let's bring them back. Now, of course, it's really hard to bring something like that back because who do you have to jump through hoops for? The same people that regulated you out. So what's the fix? The fix is set it up on private property. Oh, you can have a store on private property? Hell yeah, you can have a store on private property. And you don't have to allow anybody to come and regulate that. You don't. I mean, it's private property. So this is the conversation went something like this: we have to set up alternative systems and be more self-sufficient so that we don't depend on this group of people that seems to be working the agenda, and it never works out in our favor. They never do anything in our favor. When you realize that they have done so many things that are detrimental to us to benefit, just a few people, it's hard to go back. I really think that I don't know how the Department of Agriculture could redeem themselves in the minds of people who know what they're about. I really don't. I mean, even if they switched around and they actually performed their mission, we'd still be saying, like, yeah, but we don't even need you to do that. I mean, we have people in place to do that are not getting paid a salary out of my pocket, So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I do believe that the fix is from within, and we can do this. We can do this. And I don't think it's just food. Jill and I were talking about this morning because, like, we're contemplating this project, this build-out project for the school, and all of a sudden it's like, well, it's not going to be big enough, and we got turned down for a loan. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, and there doesn't seem to be any reason why. It's just like, oh, we don't like to use properties as collateral. And I thought, that's strange. That's really strange. And I suppose I could go down there and I could put my fist on somebody's desk and say, you explain this to me right now. But I backed up and I said, well, maybe there's a reason for this happening. And as we have grown over the last month or so, we're starting to see that, hey, maybe we would be cutting everybody short by building out such a small area. And, that's what we had at the time. So it seemed like a good idea. But you never know what's on the horizon. There may be an opportunity to build a conference center, I don't know, like as big as my Clearspan building, something like that, where we could actually have a rail that came inside and floors where people could be comfortable on, and you could butcher inside regardless of the weather, even in the summertime, because our schedule is jammed up into fall, and we've always preached seasonality. However, that limits us to 2 classes, 3 maybe at the most. And the classes that we did in the wintertime, they were tough. And people came to learn something, and it was kind of tough, when they're from a warmer climate and they come here and it was very cold. So I felt a little off by that. I think there would be a better way to do it. And, if the mission is worth doing, I think things will come. And, if we did have a conference center, we could use it for other things, of course. And some of the phone calls that I've been getting lately is they're not people who are panicked. They're people who are thinking clearly about what is happening and what needs to happen. And so we just don't know what's coming. But as far as the schedule of projects this summer, they've changed around because we can't get wood right now, so that's changed around. Anyway, where did my glasses go? Okay, Honey Caffeine is with us. Thank you, Debbie. Did you make it up here this spring or coming a bit later? Not yet. Debbie says continue to keep it in prayer. Do you still have trees? Luann says, hi, honey. Okay, Debbie, we'll do that. We are still looking for property. Missed out on a few, so it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm going with the way things are happening. Like, we had hoped that we would have the store framed in by now. But we don't have wood, so that's not happening. We had hoped that we would be making a run at the conference at the but it's, you know, again, it's sort of the same thing. It's sort of the same thing. We're up against materials. So, you know, we're working on the campground, and what could happen there is the campground could get used all summer long, and that could provide us with some of what we need to build out the barn. So we'll just take it as it comes. It doesn't really matter that much because we have operated now for 10 years in the Anyone Can Farm program, and we haven't had a conference center. So, you know, it would be nice, you know, it would be nice we'd accommodate more people and stuff, but maybe that's not what's supposed to happen. So I just take it as it comes. Okay, we got people looking for property. That's cool. Honey doesn't want to come too far north, though. She's got kids down south, which is too. I mean, it's her personal choice. All right. Yeah, so butchering went okay today. We didn't have much, but we normally in the spring you don't have turkeys, but we did 4 turkeys today. We did, I think, like 10 ducks, and then about 25 chickens. So it was a pretty light day. There was that group of 50 that didn't come, so yeah. But it was okay. We did all right. This weekend we have a Jeep thing to go to. There's a Jeep show that's happening here in Michigan. It's one of the biggest in Michigan. And so we're going to go check out the old Jeeps. You know, I have a Jeep, so I'm kind of interested in that stuff. And Joe, the filmographer, is hired by the city of Cadillac to do a video of Jeep Day. So maybe he'll put us in the video, maybe. All right. What do we got? Any questions, comments, or complaints? I don't see anything. I'm hearing people in the other room, so that means they must have got that cow in and they're in the house. I hope. I don't want to have to go deal with that when I leave here. Mike H., how's the tractor doing? Oh, my tractor. I got my tractor back. It was expensive. It was very expensive. It was $4,800. The timing cover right on the front of the engine had to be changed because it had a big crack in it and was leaking. And there's a boss that's on there that you screw in, and it's for the pressure regulator, oil pressure regulator, and it was split right there. So there was no fix on it. It's an aluminum case, and so we had to get a new one. It was a $600 part, and to get at it, the whole front of the tractor had to come off. The loader had to come off, and then the whole front had to come off. And then all the belts and hoses and everything else had to come off. The water pump had to come off, everything in the front of the engine. So it was just the bare front of the engine. And then he had to build it out from there. And he says, hey, well, while I'm here, why don't I put a new water pump in this? Because it doesn't make any sense to go this far and put the old one back in. So he put a new water pump in, and there was a couple other parts that were sort of expensive that went in, and it added up to $4,800. And I was a little shocked at that, but at the same time, when he brought it back, he pointed out everything that he did, and I have owned that tractor for 18 years, and I have done very little to it. So I've not even changed the hydraulic filter on it. So that got done, and a bunch of stuff got done too. So now I know that I can go into the busy season and I'm going to be okay with it. And plus, I found a good guy, a really good guy. I mean, this guy he is really good, really good. So, yeah, and if you need a tractor fixed, I'll share his name with you. Other than that, I want to keep it a secret because I don't want to. All right. Honey says, my son is doing a terrific job. No, I'll tell you, his name is Mike Myers. He's out of Clare, but he works here in Falmouth. And if you need his name and number, just contact the farm and I will give it to you. Yeah. Mike was saying that it should be good. You shouldn't have to touch it again for 10 years. So he said he set it in his shop when he was done, and he said there was not a single drop of anything that came out when he was done. So I'm really glad. It even sounds different now. It just sounds different. It's really tight sounding. It doesn't have a lot of hours on it. It's just got a lot of time on it. It's a little older. It's a 94. It's not a real old one, but the other one is still in the barn. And as soon as we can recoup some of the money that we've spent, somehow that one's going in next. And I don't know what's wrong with that one. No buffering. What changed? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done anything. Like last night, the chat wasn't working. Today, the chat's working. I don't know. I don't really get this technology. It seems like there's sort of an unseen hand someplace. Okay. Loan's with us. Do you have a particular breed of chicken? For meat, I'll just go through them all. For meat production, we do two. We do Freedom Rangers, and we do Cornish crosses. Cornish crosses are the white ones, and they're the kind of the dumb ones, but they grow pretty fast. The Freedom Rangers are the more darker meat, and they are a little slower, but they do put on a lot of really good fat. So we like the Freedom Rangers around here better. Now, as far as laying chickens, we're all over the place on that. Whoever's ordering chickens sort of seems to order what they want. We have Aracanas. Those are the ones that do the blue eggs and blue and green eggs. We have Isa Browns, which kind of like them. They're a lighter chicken, lighter weight, but they put out a nice size brown egg. We have Buff Orpingtons. That is a heavy breed, and that's nice because when they are done laying eggs, or what they call spent, then you have a heavy bird that you can stew. You can stew her. And then you got Rhode Island Reds. We've got some of those, and we've got what else do we have? That's all I can think of right now. But I don't spend that much time with the chickens anymore. When we started off with chickens, it was fun to sit out there and watch the chickens, and we'll name them this, and an egg. Now it's kind of like tonight. Jill came out. This is true story. It's true story. Here it is, spring. The chickens are laying. We probably have 50 chickens out there. And they're all laying because it's spring. And Jill comes out with a 5-gallon bucket, and I see her dumping something into the little pigs. And I thought, oh, cool, because I hadn't watered them yet. I thought she was giving them something that was wet, And I go over, and there's eggs. So 5-gallon bucket of eggs, because we have so many, and they're piling up in the fridge. Like our milk fridge is where people come and they get milk, and the eggs that are in there, they're kind of piling up. So Jill was just like, I gotta get rid of these, and she just gave them to the pigs. It's not exactly a waste, but the ones that she's gonna water glass, she usually waits until we have given them grass. And at the rate we're going, it was pretty sunny out today. We will probably have grass in a couple of weeks. All right, so I'll have the mower out, and I will use my machine that sucks up all the clippings. And the reason we have that is to justify all the mowing that I'm doing, because all of those clippings get used for mulch in the garden, or they get fed. Now, when the grass really starts coming, we have more grass clippings than we can feed or mulch, right? There's so much. So the chickens are getting a whole bunch. The pigs get tons. Oh, I got a situation here. My bread contract, I haven't gotten any bread in a month. And so I did call them, and like, they've had personnel changes, and the guy that's running that part of it has I don't know what his thing is, but he just kind of tells me stuff, but nothing happens. So my last resort is to talk to the top guy, the head guy. And I got a call into him today. He didn't come to work today. Just amazing. It's just this factor that you just can't quite get a handle on. Here it is, the work week, and they didn't come to work today. Oh, okay. Maybe we'll talk on Monday. Maybe. I asked the secretary, could you please leave a message? Whether she did or not, we won't know, But so I'm not gonna push too hard. We've had that contract for a long time, 5 years actually. And I did a little bit of math about how much money we have saved them in what it would cost them if they sent it to the landfill, which they actually can't send it to the landfill, because somebody at the landfill would take a picture of it and they'd put it on Facebook, and then it would be like, we should be feeding homeless people with this, because that happened before. And that's when our contract, which I have right here, was it was of interest to them that I would be a disposal person. I would, and I told them, hey, you will never see it again. No one will ever see one of those packages ever again. I promise you. And so, I got to the point today where I called the boss man, because I thought, he doesn't know that his people are not working in the direction that he wants them to go, because he signed this contract. And if I don't say anything to him, he assumes that his employees are doing what they're supposed to do, but they're not. The employees there are not interested in what the boss wants, it seems. Or there's some Martians coming down or something. There's some phenomenon that's happening. We don't know at this end, because the guy that I usually dealt with there, he's gone. So there's a new guy there. So we don't know. But my thought was, for 5 years, this contract, I have honored it to the letter. I have plowed the snow. I have made sure that everything disappears, never to be seen again. They never show up here to dump bread and I say, oh no, we have too much. Even if I have too much and it's turning green, I deal with it, right? I deal with it. And every time there's been a problem, it's always on their end, always. And it's usually their employees just don't give a damn about what they're doing, which I get, they're just employees, sort of like Department of Ag people. They're just employees. So I did call him today, but he wasn't there. So I don't know what's going to happen. If we lost that contract, I figure it's for a good reason, and I'm just going to roll with it. But I have a plan B in mind, and I did some checking around today, and I might scale back my hog production because of that, and then put the extra effort into infrastructure that I need to do around here, right? I have a lot of work to do around here, and maybe it would give me a break, because taking care of that many pigs is, it takes up time, and it gives me less time to do things that I need to do. All right, so I just thought I'd tell you that. I did do something today that I thought was kind of interesting. I have raspberries on the south side of the garden and then on the east side of the garden. I put them on the south side of the garden because what you want to do is we have a prevailing wind from the south. And so we want the soil in the garden to heat up so things will germinate in there. You want to stop any breeze that's coming from the south. And so that's why I plant them there. But I made a vital error when I did that. I had a water line that was there, and it was sitting on top of the ground. And then I planted on both sides of it. And I thought, well, this thing will get covered up in time. And what happened is the quackgrass came in and started to choke the raspberries. So they recommend that you go through every year after you're done with your harvest and you mow the raspberries off like this. But I haven't been able to do that because there was a water line in there. So today I was raking up all the refuse in the garden and then just lighting it up. Whatever would burn, and then I don't have to deal with it. We had a little wind to the east, so it was going really nice. And it caught into those raspberries, and it started going, and I thought, man, that water line's in there. I hope it's deep enough that it doesn't burn. Well, it did. It burned. And so I had to cut it out and dispose of it and all that stuff. But after the burn went through those raspberries, then I could see the dirt under it, and then I was able to get the mower and mow them off really close. And so I'm pretty excited about that, because maybe the raspberries will come in much thicker this year. Boy, those raspberry bushes really produce. I mean, they'll produce a raspberry that's about that long, and you'll eat so many of them, you're just like, well, I can't even eat another one. They're really good. They really produce. So okay, Bryce is with us. Any Marins? No, I don't have those. I've seen them, but I don't have them. Honey wants to know, have you noticed any chicken that tastes better? Yeah, the Freedom Rangers, in my opinion, are way better. Way better. But I have friends that when they eat grass beef, they're like, oh, it's kind of tastes like, the words he used was mooey. It tastes mooey, or kind of hay mowish, right? Those are the words that my buddy Devin uses. Where when I eat it, it feels like a really complete, full flavor, really good. And then when I eat, some grass finished or some silage finished stuff that's been grained, I was kind of like, well, where's the beef? Where's the flavor? It was almost like when you get roast beef from Hormel. If you ever see that packaged stuff, it looks like roast beef, but then when you taste it, it's like, where's the beef? Where's the flavor? So when I eat a Freedom Ranger, I'm like, this tastes good, but I like that deep, slightly kind of woody flavor, where some people like the chicken to be slightly dry and, very little flavor. Some people like that. I would rather eat, I just don't like it. It does to me. It doesn't. If it's dry breast meat, no. I always feel like I need to put a bunch of salt on it, or something, like cut it up in strips and butter it or something. Had any problems with letting chickens go broody and raise their young? Yeah, we've had problems. We like to do that. It's nice if you get a chicken that wants to sit on eggs and you move her with a bunch of eggs and put her someplace where she can be left alone. Those little chicks running around out there, they are really susceptible to predation. Super susceptible. Things like hear them, that little peeping noise, and they come looking for them. So it's nice if you have a separate place where you can keep them that's super secure, right? And mom doesn't want to go anyplace anyway. So yeah, that's the way to do that. Or an incubator. Hit the like. Yes, hit the like. Luann says, where I'm farm sitting, we have 23 chickens. For the last week, 6 dozen eggs already. Okay, hey, Hildy's with us. Welcome. China owns Hormel. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're an hour in. It's Friday. I want to go and spend some time with the people. Everybody worked hard today. Not really, but it was, not at chicken butchering, but just around the farm, people did pitch in pretty good. And we're in that mode where there's going to be a lot of work coming. So I kind of like it. It's something really pressing to do every day. So I know what I'm doing tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. So appreciate everybody coming by. We will see you Monday. If something big comes up on the weekend that we just need to brief, I'll come on. But I think we'll just take a break, and we'll see you on Monday. Keep your powder dry and ears to the ground. I don't think I need to tell you to get prepared. That's just everybody here should know that. And but I think this should be your best growing season ever. I think it should. It's going to be mine. See you Monday.